Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about DevOps, but also developer productivity, and see how those two are related or unrelated. I'll start with the conspiracy theory. I hope we will land somewhere here in the yellow. The good news, I have proof that my conspiracy theory is actually correct, so it's fine. And the conspiracy theory goes as follows. DevOps is a conspiracy by ops people to make the developers do their job. How many of you are developers? Any ops people? Yeah, a little bit, couple of. Okay, all right, so it's going to be fun. My name is Baruch Sadogursky. I'm at Baruch on whatever, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Mastodon, whatever, everywhere. Developer productivity advocate. Also developer relations advisor with the company called Gradle. You might know about it if you are in the JVM ecosystem from the build tool, obviously. As of today, the most used build tool in the JVM ecosystem. Generally, Gradle is more than that. It's really a developer productivity company, right? They have another tool called the Velocity, which is developer productivity engineering implementation. We're going to talk a little bit about developer productivity engineering and what it is and how it is done. My background is I started as Java developer many years ago, and then went to the DevOps space with another company that you might have heard about called JFrog. And now talking about developer productivity in general and developer productivity engineering in particular, for which we have a hashtag DPE. Surprisingly, three-letter hashtag that was not to overcome with other stuff on social media. So now it stands for developer productivity engineering, whatever it was prior to that. I co-authored a couple of books very relevant to the topic. The first is DevOps Tools for Java Developers, speaking to my both Java and DevOps background, and The Liquid Software, and that's a book about a vision of how we should all release software. So the most important slide of this talk is this one. If you go to speaking.jbaruch, you will find there a page dedicated to this talk at this conference. You can click on it, and you will find the slides that are already there, the video that I'm recording and the organizers are recording. Hopefully one of them will get recorded because technology is hard. And all the links for everything, including the books and everything else, is already there to make it easier for you to remember where to find it. It's on the bottom of every slide, right here, speaking.jbaruch, together with hashtag DPE at DevIgnition. When you praise this talk, use the hashtag and the handle and at jbaruch. All right. So back to my conspiracy theory, right? As I said, I'm a developer, but I also been a lot in the DevOps space. So I think I recognized this conspiracy of ops people against us, the developers, right? And I say it in a lot of places. The most, I would say, obvious one is this. The Phoenix project is, I would say, the most important, if not the most important, the really one book that you should read about DevOps if you didn't and you want to understand what DevOps is. Who heard about the Phoenix project, read it? A lot of people, great. It is an awesome, absolutely awesome book. Whoever didn't, I really recommend it. It's a novel, so it's very light reading. And it's a novel about a protagonist, an engineer, who kind of invents DevOps and transforms their company, turns it around from going down the drain to be a very successful company using DevOps. That's kind of the premise. All we need to, for our conspiracy theory proof, all we need to do is look at the cover, because the cover conveniently shows all the main characters in the book, and I want to show you who they are. Right, so we'll start right there. It's a little bit small, I'll read it out. Patty, she's a director of IT service support. She is an IT person. And then there is Wes, who is director of distributed technology ops. He's obviously an ops person. And then Sarah, she's like the main antagonist. Obviously, she's in sales. And then there is Steve, who is the CEO, and he was kind of on the fence. And then there is Dick, who is the CFO. Fine. Here's the main protagonist, Bill Palmer, and he is a VP of IT Ops. He's like the ops guy of the entire company. Eric, he's a board member, and he's the one who actually gives Bill clues that pushes him towards DevOps. Those clues, by the way, are all based on another book called The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt. And funny enough, Goal is exactly the same idea. It's also a novel about a person who invents a way to do business and transfers their company, which is, there is some nice recursive irony there, but it's like off topic. Yeah, so Eric, he's a board of directors. Brent, lead sysadmin, obviously ops guy. And there is a security guy hiding there because everybody beat him. And okay, that's a terrible story. Never mind. So yeah, any observations? What do you see or don't see? Developers. Where are the developers? Right? It's a book about DevOps. Dev should be somewhere there. But there is none. Well, there are developers in the book, and they're not pictured in a very nice light. We'll get to that in a second. Let's see another proof. Very profound as well. So when you type in Google, what is DevOps? Who is teaching us what DevOps is? We can see, so there is Amazon, which is obviously an ops platform, Atlassian, a DevOps company, GitLab, another DevOps company, Microsoft, another ops platform, TechTarget journalists, Wikipedia, Synopsys, ops observability stuff, Logs.io, ops observability stuff, and there is IBM down there trying to be ops company. It's all ops people who are pushing this DevOps thing very, very hard. So it's really kind of an ops thingy. And the real question is why? Why it's suddenly so important for ops people to sell us, the developers, the idea of DevOps. So you start to look like, okay, what this DevOps thing is. And here's a funny question on Quora, not the best of sources, but this one was very profound. As a Linux system administrator, how do I shift my career to DevOps? And then Disha, who is apparently DevOps online trainer for many years, goes about, hey, all you need to do, you're already a sysadmin, so you already know the Linux administration, which is great. And then all you need to do is learn some tools. Chef, Maven, Jenkins, something that's called Gits. And the next thing you know, you are a DevOps engineer. How cool is that? And the good thing of moving from being a Linux system administrator to being a DevOps engineer is that this is what you used to earn, and this is what you're going to earn now. Just by being a Linux system administrator that learned Gits. How cool is that? And then it's like a snowball. It's rolling down there, and next thing you know, there is an even now, you know, with all the economy downturn and like massive layoffs and what's not, 20,000 open positions for DevOps engineers in the United States alone. It is a big deal. And then obviously the next thing you know, there are, hey, remember Amazon that tried to sell you DevOps? Now they're not only selling you the idea, they actually sell you certifications to being DevOps engineer. Basically, they teach you Linux administration and Gits and their own stuff over there, right? And boom, there is an entire industry of system administrators who are now DevOps engineers. And I don't take it well. We're going to get back to the entire thing of DevOps engineers and how stupid it is. But before we get there, I don't think that the answer, hey, all the DevOps thing is for the money, is the right answer. We need to go deeper and ask why again. And as you know, if you ask why enough times, you'll be promoted to engineering manager. So we will stop at 2. We will ask why once again. And here's my take. They are not wrong. right? I mean, developers see, a lot of developers see their work as in a pretty limited scope, right? And this is writing code. And once writing code is done, the developers are kind of done. And the ops people left with the hard part of deployment, all the stuff that developers wrote, and the developers aren't there for that. So the drive of ops people to pull developers into the fold and kind of say, hey, we're in it together. We need to work together to deploy our software, and this is what DevOps is about, actually makes a lot of sense. So yes, I mean, it's clearly proven by me that DevOps is an ops conspiracy to make the developers work harder. But it is actually for a good reason, and they are right. Developers really need to participate, and we need to be in charge of the software that we write and make sure that it is deployable easily and be there when the things go bump at night at 3 a.m. because our software had a bug. It's still our responsibility. So generally, yeah, they have a point, right? We really need to be there. The problem is we don't really want to, because it is on call at 3 a.m. We don't want to do on call at 3 a.m. Right? I mean, it's still not very appealing to us, the developers, and basically we are not convinced. And we have our own very good reasons not to be convinced, and this is what we're going to talk about next. So, funny story. Among all the GIFs in the internet, I couldn't find a single one that goes from sad to happy face. There are a lot that go from happy to sad for good reasons that we won't mention today of all days. Never mind. So I had to take a happy to sad GIF and reverse it to get this. But yeah, so how do we get from us, the developers, not being very excited about DevOps to be very excited about DevOps? How do we do that? Let's go back to the whole crap of DevOps engineers. So, DevOps engineer is not a thing. DevOps engineer is not a thing because it doesn't make any sense. DevOps engineer makes as much sense as collaboration engineer because DevOps is a collaborative practice that promotes collaboration between two different types of engineers, the developers and ops. Collaboration engineer is not a thing, and DevOps engineer is not a thing. And the reason why I'm so upset about it, people like, Baruch, let it go, who cares? I do care because naming things incentivize behavior. And when you have a lot of DevOps engineers, you know what happens next? You will have a DevOps team. And this is how you might envision DevOps team, but this is what actually DevOps team is. So I'll read it out right here. It's a dystopian TV show about how in a ruined and toxic world, thousands live in a giant silo. This is a DevOps team. DevOps team is just a new silo. And the entire idea of DevOps is to bring down the silos, the dev and the ops, and bring them together. But what we did by introducing DevOps engineers is build a new silo. So now DevOps engineers live in a silo, and developers live in another silo. And our next frontier is let's break those silos down. And you know what? Next thing we know, we will have DevOps. DevOps is a collaborative practice that makes developers and DevOps engineers work together. So it is that stupid, and obviously DevOps engineer is not a thing. Now, jokes aside, there is engineering aspect of DevOps, right? So there is like a lot of technology that appeared in the last 15 to 20 years that requires engineering. This engineering is not DevOps engineering. Back in like 10 years ago, Liz von Jones and Seth Vargo explained to us, working both in Google, that the engineering aspect of DevOps called SRE, Site Reliability Engineers. Google came up with the term, and you might think that Google really should do better in naming things, because they're Google. The problem is, no one wants to be a site reliability engineer. When I worked in JFrog and I had this crusade against DevOps engineers and DevOps teams, JFrog actively hired for DevOps engineers. And it obviously pissed me off a lot. And I went to like the hiring manager, and I'm like, what the actual heck? Why do we hire DevOps engineers? DevOps engineers do not exist, it's all blah, 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 blah. And he told me, no one wants to be site reliability engineer. We tried it. No one wants to. And I'm like, why? And he's like, they're telling us they want more than just maintain the uptime of our website. And I'm like, what? And it's like, yeah, this is what people hear. When they hear site reliability engineer, they think about website. They think about that their work will be make sure that our WordPress is up. And I'm like, no, this site is everything, it's services. And he's like, I know, but they don't. The ads for site reliability engineers perform really poor. So you might think that Google would do a better job. I have good news for you. We have a new name for the engineering aspect of DevOps, and it is platform engineering. It was intended to be something completely different, but as with SRE, it was completely misunderstood, but this time for good. Scott Shaw, I saw him speaking at the DevOps talks in Australia, like I think it was a year ago, and he was talking about how DevOps engineers are rebranding themselves to platform engineers. And I'm like, yeah, finally, great, perfect. Okay, everybody wants to be a platform engineer. This is the next big hype today after AI, obviously, and it's good. I, for one, really embrace the thing. And if you look at the internet and ask what is the difference between platform engineering and DevOps, you will see people like, okay, platform engineering is the next step of DevOps evolution. Fine. DevOps teams create software and focus. I mean, everybody are talking about how this is the next thing in DevOps, and I'm, for one, I'm very happy about that. There is like tons of results that talk about how DevOps and platform engineering are related, are the next thing. And then I went and asked ChatGPT, what is it? And ChatGPT was like, hey, platform engineering is about building and managing scalable infrastructure and services that enable developers to efficiently deploy and run applications. Thank you very much. This is what you call today DevOps engineering. So it's basically someone who writes all the YAML files in the organization. Yes, it is. Perfect. Great. That's exactly what we wanted. So platform engineer is the SRE, is the DevOps engineer. Great. With that last transformation and the last piece, I'm in peace with DevOps. Done. DevOps is, we figured it out. Now, I'm not saying that everybody doing DevOps. I'm not saying there are no DevOps teams around, or that every DevOps engineers understood their wrongness or their title and rebranded themselves. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that if there is an organization that wants to do DevOps correctly, they know how to do it. They know where to find the information. They know how to find the people. They know how to train those people. They know what those people need to do. All the solutions of how to do DevOps are there. And you know what? Still, us the developers are not really excited to be on board. Let's see why. So the way we used to talk about DevOps is, well, this is Venn diagram because everything is explained in Venn diagrams, and we have dev and ops because that's the name DevOps, and then, oh yeah, by the way, also QA. What? What? It doesn't help. What does it say? Are they people who needs to do all of that? Is there like what? And then like, okay, this is not helping. Let's try something else. How about it's something that happens between people when they work in some process and there are some tools involved and this DevOps like magic happens. Well, this is better, but what do we really mean? And here we can start actually articulating that we care that people who work productively within productive process and using productive tools are actually are able to deliver software faster, in better quality, more consistently, with less failures to production. This is the goal of DevOps. This is what we do. And now, in the last 15 to 20 years, we started to figure out what this actually means. So we know now exactly what productive teams are. Productive teams are empowered teams in which developers, ops people, quality people, security people, product people, all of them come together and work together as a team to create software. Fine. We kind of figured out productive tools, more or less, if you can call Kubernetes that. It's okay. But what about productive people? Now, how do we make people more productive? Now, you might say, well, people are as productive as they want to be, but this is not really the case. There are widespread pains that slow down people in general, and developers in particular, from being productive. One of the most painful examples is build time, right? Builds and tests are slow. How many of you, and you're all developers, have a build which is faster than 10 minutes with tests, like the entire thing? Okay, that's really sad, like 3 people. Okay, the rest of you have built slower than? Okay, let's start faster than 20 minutes. Okay, so most of you are there. Faster than 15 minutes. Okay, faster than 10, that's the 3 people. Faster than 5, not really. Oh my God, this is that bad. So you're definitely in this 90%, right? No one thinks that 20 minutes build is fine, right? You agree with me? It really should be 2 minutes, no more. And it should be no more than 2 minutes because I'm going to talk about why. It's not only that, there are other pains. So that's your build or CI and test, but also inability to troubleshoot and determine the root cause of failures, right? Your build failed. You have no idea why. You have vaguely idea maybe who to blame, but it really doesn't help. And then obviously performance regressions. Okay, you fixed your build, now it's fine, but in 2 months it's slow again. Why? You don't know. So this is just some examples that prevent you as people, as engineers, to be productive. And for me, the next frontier is the production system of your production system, which is your development environment. And one of the things of making people productive is the developer productivity engineering, the DPE, that we are talking about. What is developer productivity engineering? It's basically a bunch of ideas that will help you engineer productivity into your developer work. Stuff like foster faster feedback. We're going right into the build problem, right? The feedback that you have on your local build is not fast enough. Now, why it is a problem? It is a problem because build should be synchronous feedback. You write some code, you run the build, you wait for it, you fix the code, and this is your feedback cycle. If it's slow, you do one of two things. You either don't wait for it, and then you context switch, and it's really bad for tons of different reasons, or you just kind of give it up and let it run on CI, which is asynchronous feedback. You don't need to wait for CI, but then you cannot really concentrate on anything else because you have zero confidence in whether your code will pass or not. So either way, it's bad. Faster feedback is a very, very important tenet of a developer productivity engineering. Toil, stuff like how much stuff you need to do in order to get to what you really need to do. All those useless ceremonies around code that really need to go away. Friction will disturb your focus and will hurt your productivity. Effective tooling. We spoke about, hey, my build's failing and I think it's the other guy's fault. What do we do now? We can dump the entire output of the build on them. I don't think they're going to be happy or help you with that. If you can send them the exact root cause of the failure, they might want to help you because this is effective collaboration. Prioritize automation and eliminate bottlenecks. This is straight from DevOps handbook. This is what DevOps is about for your production systems. When we build those pipelines to production, this is what we do. We automate and we eliminate bottlenecks. But what about for our development environment? Do we do that as well? We don't, and we should. Observability, another kind of a big thing with DevOps. All of us have complete observability on our production environment because in some point of time we decided that waiting for users complaining on Twitter about our software not working is not a great way to get feedback. So instead, we build observability for our production environments, and great for us. But how about our development environments? Do we really know what's going on when we run those builds and those CI and CD pipelines? We probably not, and we really should. Organizational mindset is something that all this stuff should start with. Fixing my own local build is nice, but what I really need is my organization to take initiative to move forward with developer productivity engineering and take it as organizational mindset. And outcomes over output, which is also very important. Remember the entire dump of the build that I mentioned? This is output. This is noise. We need to find the outcomes only and concentrate on them. Now, the good news is that if organizations really put their minds on it, the results are amazing, significant, and pretty fast. 84% of organizations that agree that since integrating developer engineering into our development process, the time savings we experience on a build and test cycle times have dramatically improved developer productivity. This thing really works. And I guess the same 84% said something else that makes me very excited about developer productivity engineering. Developer productivity engineering fosters developer joy. Remember how show notes, this is the most important slide of this talk? This is the second more important slide of this talk because it has the word joy on it. No, really, I mean, we all want to have joy. And if developer productivity engineering does joy to 84% of the survey takers, we really should do it. Now you sit here and some of you just walk out because, fuck it, developer productivity engineering is not my job. I want to write code. Well, that looks familiar. DevOps only also is your job, right? And somehow we spoke about how it really should be. It's exactly the same idea with developer productivity engineering. The outcome of DevOps transformation is the product itself, right? We're talking about production systems, we're talking about our Kubernetes clusters, And obviously, this is why DevOps takes precedence. The outcome of developer productivity engineering is more productive work. So the urgency of DevOps is on everybody's mind because this is about product. This is the company transformation that helps you develop faster, deploy better product in a more stable way. So this is on everybody's mind. Now, developer productivity engineering, yes, it's very important. We just spoke about it, but it tends to slip away because how many of you think about, hey, my build is slow daily? No, not much. I mean, I just made you to think about it, and it will be on your mind, hopefully today, tomorrow. But in a week from now, maybe less. It does slip away. This has direct effect on organizational structure. We don't need DevOps teams because DevOps is an organizational culture. But we do need specialized developer productivity engineering team to make sure that it is an organizational mindset. And the best organizations, those who report joy and stuff, they build focused teams. For example, Snowflake hiring for developer productivity engineering manager. And LinkedIn hires for productivity and IT group. And Microsoft hires for platforms and engineering productivity group. And Spotify writes blog posts about how developer productivity improved their entire thing, right? And Netflix hires for senior developer productivity engineer, and Elastic hires for engineering productivity, etc., etc. So you understand the thing. DevOps engineers and DevOps teams are not a thing. Developer productivity engineering teams are very much a thing. And I'm going to mention DP Summit in a second. All of them speak about, at DP Summit, about how their teams are making sure that DPE is that organizational mindset that it's needed. So we're talking here about evolutionary process, about how we started with the silos, how we are fixing our production with the DevOps culture, and the next thing is fixing the people productivity with developer productivity engineering, right? So, I mean, DevOps solves ops concerns. That's a fact proven by like book cover. I mean, what else do you need? And it is a collaborative methodology. It requires engineering and whatever it's called, site reliability engineering, platform engineering, YAML engineering. Someone has to write these YAML files, fine. But what about people productivity, production systems of your production systems? This is where developer productivity engineering comes into play, and this is your another pillar of DevOps. So you can learn more and try it today. If you go to speaking.Baruch, you'll find there a link to what we call a speed challenge. It's basically, we take your build or any open source build that you want to try and play with, and then you do a couple of stuff, and then it's significantly faster. And you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard. I need to do it for my build and the build of my team. And you get awesome swag in a way. So that's your speed challenge. Talk about DPE in your organization. Hopefully it will help raise the awareness that we spoke about. A DPE handbook, more of what I just said in an ebook format, is also at speaking.Baruch. And the DPE summit that I wanted to bring, it happened in September. We're still waiting on the videos to be published. The keynotes are already published, so you can watch at least those for now. And with that, thank you very much. I'm at Baruch everywhere. This is Dev Ignition. Speaking.Baruch is where you find the slides, the video, and all the links to everything that we spoke about. Thank you.